Well, let me tell you about this 1972 Ford F-250 I found on Marketplace for $11,000. This is actually quite an interesting find. It's a clean old workhorse with some solid upgrades under its red exterior. The truck's got a rebuilt 390 engine and automatic transmission, which is a big plus. They've upgraded it with heavy-duty front axles from a 73 F-250 and added front disc brakes. That's definitely a worthwhile safety improvement. The odometer shows 141,000 miles, which isn't too bad for a 50-year-old truck. Being honest here, there are a few things to note. The AC has been removed, supposedly for better fuel economy, and there's some rust in the bed where they installed a steel plate about 20 years ago. But they've done some recent maintenance, new tires, shocks, master cylinder, and it's got a fresh registration tag. There's also a new auxiliary fuel tank included, though it needs to be installed. The truck runs on a 2-barrel carb with stock exhaust manifolds and dual exhaust, and it comes with a gem top. With just 2 previous owners and a clean title, it's actually a pretty straightforward example of a vintage F-250. For $11,000, you're getting a classic truck that's been maintained and upgraded in practical ways. It's not perfect, but it seems like an honest old truck that's ready to work, or could be a nice project to gradually improve while you use it. 2. Let's check out this 1968 Chevrolet C30 dump truck listed for $6,500 on Marketplace. Now, I've got to be straight with you. The seller's description is incredibly brief, just saying it's ready to work and nice, which honestly doesn't give us much to go on. What we do know is interesting though. It's a 1-ton dump truck with a white exterior and blue interior, sporting a manual transmission. The mileage shown is just 5,500 miles. But given this is a 55-year-old work truck, I'd be skeptical about whether that's original or if the odometer is rolled over. Being completely honest here, with such a minimal description, you'd definitely want to inspect this truck thoroughly in person. While it's listed in good condition, you'll want to check crucial areas like the dump bed mechanism, frame integrity, and overall mechanical condition. These old work trucks often have interesting stories and can be either workhorses or money pits. For $6,500, it could be a decent deal if it's truly ready to work as claimed, but you'd really need more information about its maintenance history, the condition of the dump mechanism, and any rust issues. Classic work trucks like this can be great finds, but with such limited information, you'd need to do your homework before making a decision. Remember, these were built to work hard, so expect some wear and tear consistent with its age and purpose. 3. Let's talk about this interesting 1978, actually advertised as 1977, Chevy C10 that's up for $7,500 on Marketplace. This isn't your ordinary classic truck. It's got some significant modern upgrades that make it pretty unique. Let's be completely honest about what we're looking at here. The current owner bought it already modified, and there's some uncertainty in the details. It's reportedly running a 4.8L LS engine swap and sits on a 2008 Tahoe frame. That's a serious modern upgrade if done right. However, there's a red flag we need to address. The current owner only drives it around the block to keep fluids moving, which suggests there might be some issues that need sorting out. The truck has some cool features, including that 1-year-only yellow trim specific to 1977 models, and the bed is reportedly straight. The interior's described as decent, and it's got a transplanted cluster from a Suburban. The white exterior pairs with a brown interior, and it comes with a clean title. Being transparent here, when someone says they only drive something around the block, that usually means there's work needed. The seller describes it as the perfect start to an LS cruiser, which suggests it's more of a project than a finished product. The motivated seller comment also hints they might be flexible on price. For $7,500, you're getting a classic C10 with modern running gear, but expect to invest some time and money to sort out whatever's keeping it from being a daily driver. This could be an awesome truck with some attention, but you definitely want to thoroughly inspect the quality of the LS swap and frame swap before making a decision. It's not a turnkey classic, but it could be a great starting point for someone who knows their way around modern LS engines and isn't afraid of some wrenching. R4. Let's check out this 1971 Chevrolet C20 that's listed for $10,000. I've got to be straight with you. The seller's description is pretty basic, but let's break down what we know. This is a 3-4-ton long bed truck powered by a 350 small block engine. There's a bit of confusion in the listing. It's advertised with both an automatic and a 4-speed transmission, so that's something you definitely want to clarify with the seller. The odometer shows 85,000 miles, and it's wearing a gray exterior paint job. The seller claims it's in good condition with no rust, which is pretty significant for a 50-year-old truck if true. They also say it runs and drives well with a good interior, though we don't have any specifics about the interior color or condition details. Being completely honest here, $10,000 is a decent chunk of change, and the super brief description leaves a lot of questions unanswered. You'd definitely want to know more about the maintenance history, whether that 350 is original, and get some clarification on the transmission situation. These C20s are solid workhorses when properly maintained, and finding one without rust is definitely a plus. However, with such a minimal description, you'd want to inspect it thoroughly in person. Check the frame, suspension, transmission, and all the usual wear points on an old truck. It could be a nice classic truck for someone, but make sure to do your due diligence before pulling the trigger at this price point. 5. Let's talk about this 1965 GMC C10 that's listed for $15,000. I've got to be completely upfront here. The seller's description is incredibly sparse for a truck at this price point. What we know is pretty basic. It's a yellow GMC C10 with a gray interior, powered by a V6 engine paired to a manual transmission and showing 100,000 miles on the clock. The seller simply states it's complete and runs and drives great. Being honest here, $15,000 is a pretty hefty asking price for a classic truck with such a minimal description. While these mid-60s GMCs are becoming increasingly collectible, you'd really want a lot more information about its condition, history, and any restoration work that might justify this price tag. The V6 is an interesting point. These trucks often came with inline-6 engines, so you'd want to know if this is original or a swap. Also, complete can mean different things to different people. Does it mean all original parts are present, or just that nothing's missing? For anyone interested in this truck, you'd absolutely need to see it in person and get a much more detailed history. While it could be a gem, the lack of information about its condition, modifications, or restoration status makes the $15,000 asking price feel pretty ambitious. These are great classic trucks when properly maintained, but make sure you know exactly what you're getting into at this price point. 6. Let me tell you about this 1977 Chevy C10 I found on Marketplace for $2,900. This is a classic square-body pickup truck from the late 70s, and at this price point, you need to have realistic expectations. The seller keeps it pretty simple, just stating it runs and drives with an automatic transmission. While that's a basic starting point, it doesn't tell us much about the truck's actual condition. These C10s are known for their durability and simple mechanics, which makes them great project trucks. The white exterior is a common color for these workhorses, but without more details or photos, I can't speak to the body condition or potential rust issues that are common on these older trucks. For $2,900, you're likely looking at a truck that needs work. That's just being honest. But if you're mechanically inclined and looking for a classic C10 project, this could be worth checking out. The 1977 model typically came with either a 250 CI, inline-6, or various V8 options, but since the seller doesn't specify, you'd want to verify what's under the hood. Just remember, at this price point, go in expecting to invest more money and time if you want to get it into good shape. It's important to inspect the frame, body mounts, and common rust areas before making a decision. 7. Let me tell you about this 1970 Chevy C10 I found on Marketplace. This is actually a pretty sweet find at $15,000, and I'll tell you why. This C10 looks to be in remarkable condition for its age, with the seller rating both the body and interior at 9/10. It's sporting a red exterior and interior combination, and under the hood, you've got the classic 350 engine paired with a 350 automatic transmission. What's really nice is that it's been well maintained and comes with documentation for all the new parts they've installed. Some notable upgrades include a billet accessory drive with serpentine belt system and a hefty 100-amp alternator. They've also added a 71 grille assembly, and importantly, the dash remains uncut, which is becoming increasingly rare to find these days. With 100,000 miles on the clock and only 2 previous owners, this truck has averaged just about 1,800 miles per year since it rolled off the assembly line. The seller seems pretty straightforward about the truck's condition and has all the paperwork to back up the maintenance and upgrades. For potential buyers, it's worth noting that classic C10s in this condition are getting harder to find, and the price point is actually quite reasonable for today's market, especially considering its condition and the documented improvements. Just make sure to do your due diligence and inspect it in person, as you should with any classic vehicle purchase. This seems like a solid example of a classic C10 that you could either enjoy as is or continue to improve upon. The seller appears to be open to trades as well, which adds some flexibility to the deal. 8. Let me tell you about this interesting 1978 Chevrolet C30 Cheyenne Camper Special I found on Marketplace. This is quite a unique truck with some history behind it. First off, it's important to be upfront about the condition. There is some body damage that even the current owner admits he's not sure about the origin of. It was present when he purchased it from the previous owner, an elderly woman who was selling after her husband passed. What makes this truck special is its configuration. It's a C30 Camper Special that isn't a dually, which is somewhat rare. With 94,899 original miles, verified by a classic truck inspector, the mileage is quite reasonable for its age. The current owner has invested significantly in mechanical upgrades. The truck now sports an upgraded 454 7.4L engine and a heavy-duty THM 400 Cadillac transmission with a 14 output shaft. The transmission is reportedly a Stage 2 build that was previously mated to a 572 engine. They've also added new AC Delco adjustable shocks all around and airbags for helper spring support. The brown-on-brown color combination is classic late 70s style, and at $9,000, you're getting a lot of truck with some serious mechanical upgrades. However, the seller notes it needs a minor tune-up, so factor that into your plans. Being honest, this isn't a show truck. It's more of a mechanically upgraded workhorse with some cosmetic imperfections. But for someone looking for a unique, powerful classic truck with some interesting history and upgrades, this could be worth checking out. Just make sure to inspect those body damage areas carefully and perhaps get a mechanical inspection given all the modifications. 9. Let me tell you about this 1983 Chevy 1500, technically a GMC C15, I found on Marketplace for $6,500. I'll be straight with you about what you're looking at here. This is an interesting build that combines an 83 short bed truck with a 1990 front clip, giving it a more updated look. Under the hood, you've got the reliable 350 engine paired with a fresh TH350 transmission, and the dual exhaust setup probably gives it a nice rumble. The truck wears a blue exterior and interior combination, keeping things period correct. Now, let's be honest about the issues. The seller clearly states it needs electrical work, which can be either a simple fix or a complicated nightmare depending on what exactly needs attention. With older trucks like this, electrical problems can range from simple shorts to complete wiring harness issues, so you'd want to get a clear understanding of what you're dealing with before making a decision. At $6,500, you're looking at a running and driving classic truck with some updates, but also some work ahead of you. The good news is that these trucks are relatively simple to work on, and parts are readily available. The combination of the 350 engine and TH350 transmission is about as bulletproof as they come, and with the transmission being new, that's one less major concern to worry about. This could be a solid project for someone who's comfortable dealing with electrical issues and wants a classic truck with good bones. Just make sure to thoroughly check out the electrical problems before committing, as that could affect your total investment significantly. 10. I want to tell you about a really interesting find on Facebook Marketplace, a 1978 Chevrolet 1500 K10 that's caught my attention. Let me break this down for you in detail because this is actually quite a special truck. First off, We're looking at a clean, white, single-cab short-bed K10 with a black interior, a combination that never goes out of style. With 78,000 miles on the odometer, this truck has been driven enough to prove its reliability, but not so much that it's worn out. What really makes this truck stand out is the thoughtful modernization. It's equipped with a Sniper EFI, electronic fuel injection kit, and a mild cam. For those who might not know, this EFI upgrade is a significant improvement over the original carbureted system, offering better cold starts, improved fuel efficiency, and more consistent performance. The current owner has had this beauty since 2018, and it's clear they've put some love into it. They're only selling because they need more space for their growing family, which is actually one of the most honest reasons you'll hear for selling a classic truck. The fact that they've kept the title clean and the truck well maintained speaks volumes about their care for the vehicle. At $15,000, you need to understand what you're getting here. In today's market, where classic trucks, especially K10s, are becoming increasingly sought after, this price point is actually reasonable. You're not just buying a 45-year-old truck, you're getting a modernized classic with meaningful upgrades that make it more reliable and enjoyable to drive. The automatic transmission is a plus for daily usability, and being a K10 model means you've got four-wheel drive capability. These trucks were built tough, and this one appears to have been preserved well. While they're open to trades, the owner prefers cash, which is usually better for both parties in these transactions. For anyone considering this truck, I'd say it's worth a serious look. These K10s are only going up in value, especially ones that have been thoughtfully modified while maintaining their classic charm. Just make sure to do your due diligence. Check for rust in the usual spots. Verify the EFI installation was done properly, and take it for a good test drive to ensure everything works as it should. Remember, this isn't just a vehicle. It's a piece of American automotive history that's been carefully updated for modern use. That's something special in today's market. 11. Let's talk about this 1981 Chevy Cheyenne C10 I found on Marketplace for $6,000. And I've got to be completely honest with you. This one's definitely a project truck that needs serious work. Let me break this down straight. This truck's got some good bones, but also some major issues. The good news first, it's got a Goodwrench Crate 350 engine with a mild cam and only 60,000 miles, long tube headers, and a dual exhaust setup with cherry bombs. There's also a new wiring harness and fuel system components. The body's actually decent with minimal surface rust, which is rare for these old trucks. But here's where it gets rough, and I mean really rough. Currently, this truck won't even drive. It needs to be towed. The front cross member and brake lines are damaged from a towing accident, and there are no working brakes. The differential is welded, which isn't great for street use. It has no AC or heat, and the interior needs work. Perhaps most concerning is that it starts, but dies after 5 minutes of running. The title situation is also sketchy. There's an open title, but no actual title in hand. That's a red flag that could cause headaches with registration. At $6,000, you need to understand what you're getting into. This isn't a truck you're going to drive home. It's a project that needs significant investment in both time and money. If you're handy with tools and understand what you're looking at, there's potential here. The engine and transmission, despite its minor leak, could be solid foundation pieces. But let's be real. Between the brake system, cross-member repair, title issues and running problems, you're looking at several thousand more in repairs just to make it roadworthy. This is strictly for someone who wants a project and has the skills and resources to handle it. If you're looking for something to drive right away, this isn't the truck for you. 12. Let's talk about this 1983 Chevy Suburban I found on Marketplace for $3,200, and I'm going to give you the straight facts about what you're looking at here. This is a classic square-body Suburban with a 350 small block paired to a TH350 transmission, and while it's got potential, it's definitely got some issues we need to discuss. With 118,000 miles on the clock, this former taxi cab needs some serious attention in several areas. Let's start with the immediate problems. The brakes are concerning. It's pulling to one side. likely due to a locked-up caliper or brake hose. The good news is, the seller's including new brake parts, calipers, hoses, and pads. But you'll still need to do the work or pay someone to fix it. The engine needs a tune-up and probably a carburetor cleaning since it's been sitting. Those Hooker long tube headers are unfinished and open, which means this thing is probably loud enough to wake the neighbors. Now, about that body. We've got the typical square body rust issues around the rear and under the doors, which is pretty common but still needs to be addressed. The interior is surprisingly decent for a 40-year-old vehicle, and it's got some interesting features like 2 custom sunroofs, roof racks, and a Lund windshield visor. At $3,200 or the seller's OBO, open to offers, you're looking at a project vehicle that could be cool with some work. It runs and drives, but don't expect to just hop in and cruise reliably. You'll need to factor in the cost of repairs, particularly those brakes and carburetor work, plus addressing that rust before it gets worse. This could be a good starting point for someone who knows their way around these old Suburbans and isn't afraid of some wrenching. But if you're looking for something turnkey, this probably isn't your ride. It's priced accordingly for its condition, but remember, cheap cars often aren't cheap in the long run. 13. Let's check out this 1981 El Camino I found on Marketplace for $14,500, and I've got to say, this one's pretty interesting. What we're looking at here is a clean Florida car with only 31,800 miles on the clock, which is remarkably low for a vehicle over 40 years old. The sellers put some serious custom work into this one. It's rocking a custom paint job in white, and they've gone with a sleek look by removing the door handles and installing door poppers instead. Under the hood, you've got a 350 small block, which is a solid, reliable choice for these El Caminos. Coming from Florida is actually a big plus here. It means this car likely hasn't seen the kind of rust and deterioration that northern vehicles often suffer from. The seller says it runs great, and with those low miles, that's believable. They've got a clean title in hand, which is always good news. At $14,500, you're in the upper range for El Caminos of this era, but considering the low mileage, custom work, and apparent condition, it's not unreasonable in today's market. The seller's willingness to trade for a square-body 4x4 suggests they know their market values pretty well. However, I'd still recommend any potential buyer to inspect those door poppers thoroughly. Custom modifications like that can sometimes be finicky. Also, verify that mileage if possible, as it's unusually low for an 81. This could be a great choice for someone who wants a unique, well-maintained El Camino that stands out from the crowd. It's not a barn find that needs work. This appears to be a ready-to-enjoy custom ride that combines classic style with modern touches. 14. Let me tell you about this 1979 Ford F-150 Ranger 4x4 I found on Marketplace for $6,000, and I've got to say this one's caught my attention for all the right reasons. This is a short bed 4x4 with just 56,000 miles, and what really stands out here is the amount of recent work that's been done. The seller has basically rebuilt the entire running gear. We're talking a new 9-inch rear end, new drive shaft, complete brake system overhaul including lines and master cylinder, new fuel tank, new carb, fresh battery, and even new shocks all around. That's a lot of crucial maintenance items taken care of. The brown-on-brown color combo is classic 70s style. And here's what's really impressive. The AC and heat both work, which is pretty rare for a truck this age. All the lights and wipers are functional too, which tells me someone's been paying attention to the details. Now, let's be honest about the cosmetics. The seller mentions it needs some minor bodywork and paint. But in today's market, finding a running and driving 79 F-150 4x4 with this many new parts for $6,000 is actually pretty reasonable. The fact that the seller isn't eager to sell and would consider trading for a Toyota suggests they know what they have is solid. The clean title and lack of significant damage is another plus. These old Ford trucks are getting harder to find in good mechanical condition, and this one seems to have all the expensive mechanical work already done. You just need to address the cosmetics to have a really nice classic 4x4. For someone looking for a solid classic Ford truck that's ready to use, this could be a great opportunity. The price point is fair considering all the new parts and the current market for classic 4x4s. Just be prepared to invest in some bodywork and paint if you want it to look as good as it runs. 15. Let me give you an honest take on this 1983 GMC Sierra. I have to be upfront, this truck has some serious issues that potential buyers need to know about. The biggest red flag is that the transmission is completely non-functional, and you'll need to tow it away. At $6,500, that's a pretty steep asking price for a vehicle that can't move under its own power. The truck has a classic 350 V8 engine paired with a 350 transmission, though non-working, power windows, and power locks. With 118,562 miles and only 2 previous owners, the mileage isn't terrible for a 40-year-old vehicle. The original black paint and gray interior suggest it hasn't been modified, which could be appealing to some buyers. The seller is marketing this as either a patina project, keeping that weathered look, or as a candidate for an LS engine swap. While there's potential here for the right buyer, let's be real, $6,500 is optimistic, considering you'll need to factor in towing costs and either a transmission rebuild, replacement, or a complete drivetrain swap. For someone with the skills and resources to take on a project, this could be a cool classic truck to restore, but you'll need to negotiate that price down significantly given its current condition. 16. Let me dive deeper into this 1985 Dodge D100. What makes this truck particularly interesting is its historical significance. These D-Series pickups were Dodge's workhorses throughout the 80s, and finding one in this condition is becoming increasingly rare. The 318 V8 engine is legendary for its reliability and torque, and when paired with the 4-speed manual transmission featuring a granny gear, it makes for an incredibly versatile setup, perfect for both highway cruising and low-speed hauling. The charcoal exterior with blue interior is a classic color combination that has aged well. With 87,000 original miles, this truck has averaged only about 2,300 miles per year, remarkably low for a vehicle of this age. The extensive list of new parts is particularly impressive and suggests the seller has taken a comprehensive approach to maintenance. The new Edelbrock intake and carburetor setup likely gives this truck better performance than stock, while the dual custom exhaust probably provides a nice throaty sound that classic truck enthusiasts love. What really adds value here is the inclusion of the camper shell and the upgraded 2001 seats, which offer more comfort than the original 85 seats would have provided. The bundle of extra parts could prove invaluable for future maintenance. Being displayed at Eagle Roost Antiques suggests it's been kept in a protected environment rather than left out in the elements. For $7,500, you're getting a well-maintained piece of American automotive history that's been thoughtfully upgraded while maintaining its original character. The combination of low mileage, recent mechanical overhaul, and classic styling makes this an attractive option for both collectors and daily drivers. The no trades or payments policy suggests the seller is serious about finding the right buyer who appreciates what this truck represents. Just remember to check for any rust issues common to these older Dodges, particularly around the bed corners and cab corners, though the new paint job suggests these areas have likely been addressed. Also, while the granny gear transmission is great for utility, make sure you're comfortable with manual shifting if you're considering this as a daily driver. 17. Let me be completely honest about this 1981 Chevy C10. This is definitely a project truck with some serious issues that need addressing. At $2,000, you're looking at a vehicle that needs immediate attention and investment. The current owner is pretty upfront about the problems. The most pressing issue is the mismatched oil pan that's barely hanging on with RTV sealant and a few bolts. That's a major red flag. The truck's been sitting for a month because of oil leakage issues, which isn't great for any vehicle. With 180,000 miles on the clock, this C10 has seen its share of road time. On the positive side, the owner did make some improvements. New front passenger wheel bearing, carburetor cleaning and tuning, new tires, and greased suspension components. The white exterior with blue interior is a classic combination for these trucks. Being completely straightforward, $2,000 might seem cheap for a classic C10, but you're buying yourself a project that needs immediate mechanical attention. The oil pan situation needs to be properly addressed with the correct parts, and after sitting for a month, there could be other issues that have developed. The seller's openness to trades, specifically looking for S10s or mini trucks, suggests they're motivated to move it. This could be a decent starting point for someone with mechanical skills and a garage. But don't expect to just put oil in it and drive away. This truck needs some serious TLC to be reliable. These C10s have a strong following and good parts availability, but you'll need to factor in additional repair costs beyond the purchase price. 18. Let me tell you about this interesting 1973 Chevy pickup that's caught my attention. At $12,500, we're looking at a rather unique offering, particularly with its current pink exterior and blue interior color combination. The low odometer reading of 71,559 miles and single owner history are definitely positive points. What makes this truck particularly interesting is the recent mechanical work. It's sporting a new motor and a rebuilt transmission, which are significant investments that add real value. The seller mentions they've gone through the front end as well, suggesting the suspension and steering components have been addressed. It's refreshing to hear that the body is relatively solid, needing minimal bodywork and no patch panels. That's pretty rare for a 50-year-old truck. The seller's flexibility is intriguing. They're offering to repaint it in any color, which might be a good idea unless you're fond of pink. And they're open to various trades including cargo vans, motorhomes, school buses, coin collections, or guns and knives. This suggests they're not in a hurry to sell and are looking for the right deal rather than quick cash. Being a 73 444 short bed, this is a desirable configuration among classic truck enthusiasts. These models are known for their durability and classic styling, and with the mechanical refreshing already done, this could be a solid investment for someone looking for a vintage 4x4. However, as with any classic vehicle, I'd recommend a thorough inspection before purchase, especially to verify the quality of the recent mechanical work and to ensure the 404 system is functioning properly. 19. Let me give you an honest take on this 1982 Dodge D150. At $7,700, we need to carefully consider what we're looking at here. The seller's description is quite brief, which raises some questions, but let's break down what we know. The good points first. This truck has relatively low mileage at 68,000, which is impressive for a 40-plus-year-old vehicle. It's been garage kept, which usually means less rust and better preservation. The 318 V8 engine is a reliable power plant that Dodge used for years, known for its durability. The red exterior with tan interior is a classic combination, and having a clean title is always a plus. However, there are some concerns here. The seller mentions it needs TLC, but doesn't specify what kind of work is needed. The phrase, "never had a chance to restore it," suggests it's been sitting for some time, which often leads to various issues: dried seals, aging rubber components, and potential fuel system problems. While they say it has a good transmission, sitting vehicles often develop transmission issues that only become apparent once they're back in regular use. At $7,700, this price seems a bit optimistic without more detailed information about its condition and needed repairs. While these D150s are indeed becoming rarer and more collectible, you'd want a thorough inspection before considering this price. You'll need to factor in potential revival costs if it's been sitting for an extended period. It could be a good project for the right person, but I'd recommend negotiating the price down unless an inspection reveals it's in better condition than the vague description suggests. 20. Let me tell you about this 1984 Chevy C20 that's asking $6,000. This is actually an interesting find with some notable upgrades and recent maintenance work. The truck has covered 77,500 miles, which is relatively low for a vehicle of this age, and it's got the reliable combination of a 350 small block Chevy engine paired with the sturdy TH400 automatic transmission. The seller's claim about driving it up from Florida adds credibility to its running condition, and they've made some meaningful improvements. The Edelbrock carburetor is a nice upgrade over stock. And the new front and rear brakes along with fresh U-joints and carrier bearings suggest recent maintenance attention to critical components. The 2023 Denali rims give it a modern touch on a classic body. However, let's be honest about the issues. It needs the blower motor wired back up, so no heat AC currently, and the reverse lights need attention. These aren't major problems, but they're important to factor into the asking price. The blue exterior appears to be the original color, though the interior color isn't specified, which might indicate some wear or issues there. For $6,000, you're getting a solid work truck with some nice upgrades and recent mechanical work. The fact that it's not leaking fluids is a big plus for a truck of this age. These C20s are known for their durability and parts availability, making them relatively easy to maintain. While the price might be slightly high given the minor electrical issues, it could be a good deal for someone looking for a classic heavy-duty pickup that's ready to work, especially considering the recent mechanical updates.